Is the Samsung Galaxy A14 4G LTE worth buying in 2024? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, and this is the Samsung Galaxy A14 4G LTE. Now, this device was originally launched back in March of 2023, so at this point, I want to make this video to kind of look back on this device to see if it's still a worthy option. Now, I did recently compare this device versus the A15 4G LTE here in the channel, and that phone, of course, is the successor to this device, so definitely watch that to see the differences from this generation to that generation. I will say there are a lot of improvements, so it is kind of tough to recommend this device at this point. However, since this phone has been out for a while, I have a feeling that there are some pretty good deals to be had, and then there's always people selling used smartphones as well, so maybe it's possible that you see that there's a used Galaxy A14 4G LTE available, and you can get it for way less than the original MSRP of the device. So if that's the situation, I could definitely see that justifying going for this device versus a phone that's more modern and newer. But before we get too far into things here with the A14, let's see what all comes included in the box. So here's the box. There's a picture of the phone right there. And this phone, of course, is in green. And then we have a SIM card removal tool. And then we have this packet. And then in the packet, we have some literature here. And then we're also getting a double-sided USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. So it is a bit unfortunate though that there is no USB wall adapter included, so keep in mind that that's not there. Now with the Samsung Galaxy A14 4G LTE, we're getting a very large 6.6-inch display. So this is excellent for watching video content, for example, because you're getting such a big canvas here to view that. And then if you're doing other things like going on social media, it's excellent for that too, just because you're very easily able to see everything on the screen since it is physically larger. Now, the display technology that we're getting here is PLS LCD, and this display does run at 60 Hz as the refresh rate. So unfortunately, there is no upgraded 90 Hz refresh rate. We are stuck with the old school 60 Hz. But I suppose for a very low-end device like this one, you can't always ask for everything here. Now, on a more positive note, the display is 1080p, so it is very crisp and clear. That's great. And then it does feature a PPI 400. We're also getting a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor here with the device. So the phone is still very easy to hold, but at the same time, you're getting a lot of screen real estate because the phone is so tall. And we're getting an 80.2% screen-to-body ratio. So we do have a notch up top, and then we do have a thicker bottom bezel. But overall, I think this phone has pretty small bezels and definitely is a very practically designed phone as well. It's not like there's wasted space here or anything. And overall, this general design of having the notch up top and the thicker bottom bezel has been used for about half a decade now by both Samsung and competitors as well. So definitely if you decide to go for the A14, you're not going for this phone because it has an exciting design. If anything, it's probably one of the most boring looking smartphones out. Now up in that notch is a 13 megapixel front facing camera, and definitely check out my full review video of the A14 to see photo and video samples to give you a better idea of the type of quality to expect. Now with the Galaxy A14, this phone is being offered in multiple storage configurations, so you can get this phone in either 64 or 128 gigabytes of storage. Now this version of the phone does have 128 gigs, and I do recommend going with that storage configuration if you can, because I do feel like in 2024, 64 gigs is not nearly enough space. Apps have been getting bigger and bigger as time has gone on. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but people are also using their phones for different purposes now too. People are taking lots of photos and videos, for example, and that takes up a lot of extra space on the device. And it is nice at least that there is a micro SD card so that you can offload photos and videos so that you can free up some of that internal space. But at the same time, nothing's better than having a lot of internal storage. Now with the Samsung Galaxy A14 4G LTE, there is no wireless charging, but this phone does have a fingerprint sensor located on the power button. So let's give that a try right now. And you can see that was very fast and responsive. Let's try that one more time. So that works really well there. And in addition to that, this phone also has Face Unlock. So I appreciate that there's multiple methods here for accessing the device. But overall, I feel like it's very convenient having the fingerprint sensor being located on the power button. I know there's other devices I've used where it's on the back of the phone. I also don't mind when it's built into the display, but having it on the power button is also very convenient there. Now on the back of the device, you can see here, we do have a triple camera setup. So we're getting a 50 megapixel main camera, a 5 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and a 2 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. Now here's how things look on the camera app on the device. This is the main rear camera right now, and you can see up top here it does say 12M, and that's because by default, even though there is a 50 megapixel main camera, This phone does capture images at 12 megapixels. Now if I tap up here, it'll then switch it over to 50 megapixels, and then from there I can take photos in that full resolution. And the results are actually really good with this phone. I think one of the stronger points of this device, despite it being a budget option, definitely has to be the cameras. And you can see this example right here, that we're getting a lot of detail, for example, with the plant when taking photos of it. So overall, I'm actually a big fan of the cameras. Now, from there, we can switch back over to the 12 megapixel mode, and you'll see this option right here for 0.5. That's the ultra wide angle camera. And with that, you can fit a lot more content into a single frame compared to the standard camera. So I especially like using ultra wide cameras when I'm on vacation, for example. It's definitely very convenient if I want to take a photo of, a lot of my surroundings and things like that. Then from there, there's also under the More tab, we have the macro camera. And then with macro, you can get very close up and have things be in really good detail here. So as you can see, I was able to get the text that's on the actual Lego itself. So that's nice. And then also there's portrait mode. So in certain situations, I have to be 3 feet away, but you get the idea. There's portrait mode, the rear camera. Flipping around here with the front-facing camera, we also have portrait mode. There's also an option to take group selfies as well, so it crops out a little bit. And then we can go into the regular photo mode here too and take standard selfies as well. So I do appreciate that even though the Galaxy A14 4G LTE is such a low-end smartphone, you're still getting a ton of different camera features here, and many of these features are found on way more expensive devices. Of course, you're not getting that same level of quality, but at the same time, at least you have a lot of options when it comes to what cameras you want to use and what features you want to use as well. Now, when it comes to the RAM and processor, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, this device honestly is very slow. I wouldn't recommend getting this phone unless you really want to save money, or if you just use your phone for phone calls, some text messaging, watching video content here and there, and occasional web browsing. But if you want any more than that, you probably do want to get a device that's a bit more powerful than this one. And also keep in mind that, hence the name of this phone, it is limited to just working on 4G LTE networks. So this phone is not compatible with 5G networks, and you can definitely get by with just 4G LTE still in 2024. But at the same time, I feel like if you're going to put the time and effort into getting a brand new smartphone, you may as well get one that does support your carrier's 5G network. Now, this phone comes with 4 gigabytes of RAM, and then based on the region that you buy it in, it's going to come with either the Samsung Exynos 850 or the MediaTek Helio G80 processor. So this specific version of the phone does have the Exynos 850. Now, I did run a benchmark test using Geekbench 6, and here are the scores that I got from that test. So I got a single core score of 219 and a multi-core score of 929. So these are very low scores, especially that single core score. That's pretty bad. And this is after the phone's been updated to Android 14. I reran the test, so you can see those are the scores. So what I recommend doing is running this test on your current phone and then compare your scores to these scores to get a better idea of how the Galaxy A14 compares. Because you certainly wouldn't want to upgrade to this device if it actually ends up being slower compared to what you currently have. Now beyond that though, this phone has a very large 5000 milliamp hour internal battery, and it does support up to 15 watt fast charging. Now taking a closer look at the hardware of the phone, this device is made completely of plastic besides the display, which is made of glass. On the left side of the phone, we have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. On the right side, we have volume up, volume down, and also the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint sensor. And then up top here, we have the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the device, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and we have the speaker. And then on the back of the phone, we have the triple camera setup, flash, and Samsung logo. Now, I actually think this material on the back is pretty interesting. It has kind of this groovy texture to it. And I actually like this green color quite a bit. I think it makes the phone look a lot more unique compared to other devices that I've used previously. But this concludes my video on the Samsung Galaxy A14 4G LTE in 2024. Overall, I think there are better options out there, but there are still quite a few aspects to this device that still make it worth getting. So hopefully this video made it easier for you to make that decision. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. But this is Kevin here, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and have a great rest of your day.